You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome to Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram and on 5cardguys.com. And co-hosting with me, as always, is John, who is Trade You at Recess. But our other regular co-host, Hyung, as we mentioned in the previous episode, is away coaching the Team Canada junior baseball team. And I believe he's heading to Mexico as we speak to compete against some very strong competitors in their pool, including Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Peru, and of course the formidable US baseball team. So we want to wish Hyung good luck and the rest of Team Canada as well. And can't wait to see what updates he comes back with in a couple weeks. But we do have a third host filling in for Hyung. He's already been on the pod a couple of times, and it's always a fun time whenever we have him on the podcast. Of course, we're talking about our friend Will, who is, by the way, the only guy in our WhatsApp sports card group that is continuously buying cards, even in this bear market. So, Will, thanks for filling in, and thank you for holding up the hobby all by yourself.
I gotta say, I'm super happy to be back. I'm really pumped. And in a previous episode, I talked about how I brought about the downfall of the hobby by starting collecting and then making the hobby market just drop. Now I'm holding it together. I'm gonna keep us going.
Yes.
Yeah. We appreciate that. Yeah, stay in there. All right, this is episode 92, and off the top today, there was a recent report that Netflix is producing a film about the high-end sports card collecting world, which is rumored to be made by the Safdie brothers, who had previously made the highly acclaimed movie Uncut Gems, featuring Adam Sandler. And it looks like Sandler might be in their new movie too. So that's all the information we have. But I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think about a movie about the high-end sports card world? And do you think it'll have any impact on the hobby when it comes out?
I haven't seen Uncut Gems. So if you guys have seen it, I guess you can speak to it, or any of the Safdie brothers movies. For me, I think it's pretty cool. If they get advice, kind of like how Hollywood films make, like war movies or mob movies, how they get a lot of advice from ex-mobsters or ex-war veterans, and they kind of recreate a lot of the nuances and the particulars about certain areas. I think that would be pretty cool because none of us are in the high-end sports card collecting space. So to have some insight into that world, I'd be really interested in watching that. Now, if it isn't that, and it's like a normal artsy or whatever movie, and it happens to be somewhat centered around sports card collecting, I still think it's pretty cool that there's a bit of a spotlight in Hollywood on sports card collecting. But if it's more really to do with the hobby and there is some real insight into that high-end space, I'd be definitely interested in watching it. I'd be very curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping it brings some more excitement back into the hobby and more viewers and more buyers and more sellers and all of that, because the market's just, it's not fun right now. And the more people that are involved are gonna make it a lot more fun. But I gotta say, I watched Uncut Gems, and it was maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
You think so?
I did not enjoy it at all. I kept thinking that I had left a different app running. You know how you might open multiple tabs and on YouTube, and you'll have this one random video playing in the background. You're like, what's going on? I swear that movie, it just sounds like somebody put this weird music and you can't turn it down, you can't turn it off. And so after watching it for 15 minutes, I Googled what is wrong with the audio in Uncut Gems. and they're just like saying like, oh yeah, that's part of their creative process. Like they want you to feel the chaos of Adam Sandler's character unraveling, and I'm just like, I have to be able to at least watch this movie. You can't just blast random music so I can't hear anything. so I wanted to give them a chance. So I watched. I tried to find something else the Safdie brothers created. They had some like music video for Jay-Z back like 5-10 years ago. So I watched that and I was like, okay, that's okay. So I don't know. I feel like yeah, I'm a little concerned about that part of it, but the fact that they're doing a movie about the hobby, I think that's super cool.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought Uncut Gems was a good movie. I get the audio part because it was different. So I hear where you're coming from on that. But I think they'll do a good job. They'll definitely highlight the hobby, and I think more people that are not in the hobby will at least have a better idea of what goes on, and maybe some of those viewers will explore the hobby in real life. But I could see that where it could also be a dark film, and I don't know how that's going to leave viewers in terms of what they think about the high-end sports card world. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, like I'm genuinely concerned because anytime you have a niche kind of like world or hobby and then it gets thrust into like the main spotlight, like we are not going to come out looking good in this. Like people are going to come up to us and be like, hey, so that's what you do? Like you're a loser. It's just going to confirm like all the geekier parts of our hobby, and I'm going to be like, yeah
no, man.
But I'm like, whatever. I'm not afraid of embracing my geeky side and all of that, but yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the Safdie brothers could make us look cooler, actually.
Well, I'll just tell you, like after watching Uncut Gems, it didn't make me want to go gamble. So,
I was gonna say, watch the movie, just have it be filled with like drugs, and and scammers and stuff like that.
Maybe it'll be like Rounders. Remember that movie, Rounders? What it did with poker. People got into poker after that, and that wasn't like a light film by any means.
Oh, Rounders was so good.
See,
yeah. I watch YouTube clips of Rounders like once a week.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a good movie. So yeah, I'm hoping it'll do something more like Rounders than other films that might not put the sports card world in a good light. But we'll see. I think it's projected to be released either 2023, late 2023, or even 2024. So we'll have to stay tuned for more news on that movie production. All right, with that, let's move on to hobby headlines. So with Will here today, I thought we could do a deeper dive on unlicensed products. For example, Panini Prism Baseball. And for those who don't know what we mean by unlicensed cards, it's when the card manufacturer doesn't have the league or team license, which means they aren't allowed to print the actual team logos or the team names on the cards themselves. So for Panini Prism Baseball, you can pull a Mike Trout baseball card with his likeness, wearing his team colors, but there will be no Angels logo or the Angels team name anywhere on the card. So my question is, what's the appeal of unlicensed cards? And do you think they'll retain any value over time? And I bring this up, in our hobby headlines segment today, because for those who don't know Will, he's got a soft spot for unlicensed product, I think. So maybe, Will, you can start things off by sharing with our listeners which unlicensed products you actually like to collect and have, and why it's appealing to you personally.
Yeah, so I have to backtrack a little to when I first jumped back into the hobby, right at the start of 2020. And I remember messaging John and getting into our infamous WhatsApp chat group, and I'm like posting like the Donruss Marvels set from like for basketball. I'm like, oh my god, it's amazing, because growing up I loved comics and cartoons, and so the concept of the Marvels art was like is like everything I wanted. And then John's like, oh, you should check out Kabooms. And I saw Kaboom and I was like, it was literally kaboom. Like my heart went kaboom. I was so hooked. And then that's when I found out that like our home team Blue Jays have kabooms. Like Vladdy has a kaboom, Bo Bichette has a kaboom, and those became my instant like grail cards. You know, people are chasing after Jordan and Mantle, and I'm just like, I want this Vladdy kaboom. And very quickly, everyone in the chat group's like, that's unlicensed. You don't want to get unlicensed. It's garbage. And just in general, inserts are like, you know, they're a little bit frowned upon. It's not like the Bowman Chrome. It's not the, you know, the Prism Silver, all that stuff. And I was just like, I didn't really understand it because in my head, you know, if kabooms in the NBA sets get a lot of love and are like very valuable, you know, why can't there be love for an MLB kaboom card? Because it's not like it's some random bootleg fake card that some guy printed out, you know, using his laser ink printer. It's made by Panini, and yeah, it doesn't have like the Blue Jays logo and all that, but when I look at unlicensed, especially inserts, I look at them more like art. I love the picture. I love the image. You know, I think every time I'm on this show, I talk about how much I hate like Bobby Witt's Bowman Chrome and Juan Soto's. You guys were talking last week about Juan Soto's like bobblehead looking 15-year-old
T-ball
body.
Juan Soto.
Yeah, like that's the worst. Like I'd much rather have like these cards because they look so nice. So as you were saying, I didn't think I really liked unlicensed until I looked into my card box and I realized I have a Vladdy Color Blast. I have 4 Vladdy Kabooms. I have a blank, like I really like the set Blank Slate. And there haven't been any like Blue Jays players in Blank Slate yet, so I got a Vladdy Senior Blank Slate that just got released this year. And then my newest one is Donruss Baseball released something called Bomb Squad, like an insert, and Vladdy's in that, and it's like super low numbered. The green is out of 25, and there's a gold out of like I think it's 99. I collected the whole subset, so I guess I love unlicensed baseball cards. So when you see me at the Sport Card Expo, well, this is going to get released close to that. If you see me walking through the aisles and you've got unlicensed garbage, just send them my way. I'm the sucker who's going to buy them.
Nice.
Man, you know, early on I had a chance to buy Vladdy Kaboom and Bo Bichette Kaboom. So when I don't know if Will I told you, but the very first time I got back into the hobby and I was looking at eBay and looking at cards, in my mind I was like, I'm gonna get a Kawhi and I'm gonna get a Bo Bichette or a Vladdy, like my first 2 cards. And I gave myself like a budget, $100 maximum Canadian for a slab. My first ever purchase was a Kawhi Hoops rookie 2012. It costed me like $90 Canadian. And then my second card, I was getting a Bo Bichette. I don't know, like I'm looking at baseball and I see Topps and I see Bowman First, and I didn't know what I was looking at. And I eventually figured out that Bowman First was the like rookie card, like Bowman First Chrome. So I was looking at that, and on the other side, I saw Kaboom, like a PSA 10 Bo Bichette Kaboom, and both of them were $90 Canadian. And I ended up choosing the Bowman First because like, oh, that's a rookie. I don't know what Kaboom is. It looks amazing. I want to get it, but it's not really like a rookie card. So I'm gonna go after the actual rookie card. So I ended up doing that, and oh man, regrets.
You regret it? Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then the Vladdy, there's a Vladdy at the time too, I think, and it was around the same. Like it might have been like $100 Canadian. Okay. And, you know, well, I don't know how much they're worth now, but I'm sure it's a lot more than that.
They're worth a lot less than what I paid for them, so that's a thing. But isn't every card nowadays? All cards right now.
So yeah, it's not an unlicensed thing, but I want to be on the record. I didn't say it was garbage. Okay, and some of the other guys in our WhatsApp group might have, but I'm a firm believer, like we've been saying in this podcast this whole time, collect what you love. So Will, collect what you love.
Yeah.
If that's unlicensed product, if that's the Kabooms, the Bomb Squads, the Color Blasts.
Yeah. Well,
I'll
just put it out there. It's your third man in the booth. It's my hero in life, Hyung Cho. He was like, "Yeah, man, they're all right, but you don't want those cards."
We're just throwing Hyung under the bus here. Okay, let's do it.
Well, like the thing with Hyung, like we're all Korean, and I think I'm the youngest out of all of us. So like I look at you guys like older brothers, which we call Hyung, and then Hyung's name is actually Hyung.
Right.
So it's super confusing. For those of you who aren't Korean, it's okay. You don't have to understand. But I always look up to Hyung because I got to play, softball tournaments next to him. So, and he's like a former pro
he's
player,
a killer. Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Like, I'm just like he's hitting, like they're hitting grounders that are supposed to come to me at third base, and I just watch Hyung just run in front of me and take the ball, and I'm like, yeah, you should take the ball. And then in sports cards, it's like he's got every amazing card that I want, so I'm always looking up to him. So I'm not bad mouthing him. I'm just saying my guru really cut me down really quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't have any unlicensed products, so I'm just saying.
Oh, he'd be caught dead. He wouldn't be caught dead.
Yeah.
John, do you have any unlicensed?
I did. I was on a run before. I had a Vladdy, like, optic when I wanted to get my first Vladdy. So
the teal.
Yeah, that's right. So I bought a teal velocity at a 35 or 25 or something like that. I bought it for 100 Canadian, and I ended up selling it for 500 in a trade for that Tatis Blue Refractor, which worked out really well. But I was on a run thinking this is early on when I was a complete noob. I was in my mind, my noob mind, I was like, you know what? Optic Prism is like really taking off in basketball. I think it's underrated. It's going to take off in baseball. Not really thinking about the whole unlicensed. I didn't realize the market didn't like unlicensed. I was just like, oh, it's underrated. It's going to take off. So I was like on this run of looking. Luckily, I kind of ran out of money and I didn't spend more than I should have. So I only ended up with the Vladdy. I lucked out. But you know what? Like my overall thoughts, I don't think it's that bad. I think if you have a certain year, like even I was really tempted one time because I really like the design of the LaMelo Ball year Prism with a little bit of like the box cutout, and the new year, like the one with Cade Cunningham, is very similar. Like it's just a slight variation of that model. But I saw like a Tatis gold of the LaMelo year out of 10, PSA 10. And I think it ended up, I mean, this is pre big news. But at that time, it ended up selling for like $800-900, and I was really tempted. Like it's a beautiful looking card, and I think there still is something to look at in terms of like iconic sets or like imagery. If a certain prism year and design becomes a bit iconic, or kabooms become iconic, or whatever set becomes iconic, I think it can transfer. It won't obviously transfer in full value, but there is something there. So I think Will is certainly onto something, and I don't discount the moves that he's made. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
no, for sure. The only thing I'll say is that, like, I love Color Blast, but it's got to be NBA because it's licensed. Right? So, because you know what, like, this is my point of view and my opinion, but a Color Blast for baseball, Panini Prism, for example, without the logo, it just looks a little bit photoshopped. You just scrub that out. It might as well have been just a bootleg copy, in my view, printed on a laser print inkjet by someone in the basement. So yeah, it doesn't give it that kind of official feel, I guess. Yeah. Which is why I like the T-ball Juan Soto Bowman Chrome first auto. I'll collect that any day of the week over unlicensed. But like I said, collect what you love. But the Color Blast, the Kabooms of licensed product is just it's just a little thing. The logo and the team name makes a huge difference. And I think the market agrees in general.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and what I'll say is like I definitely don't like every unlicensed. It's not like I'm a unlicensed guy. It's literally just those 4 insert sets that I like.
Fair.
because I see a lot of people in the Facebook groups posting like just garbage, unlicensed,
Right.
whatever cards. I'm like, who's gonna buy that? Like, it's so awful looking.
Yeah.
And then I just think, oh my god, that's what people think about my Vladdy Kaboom.
Well, the ones that aren't from Toronto, at least.
Yeah. But like a Vladdy Kaboom, it's like pop 50 in PSA 10s, 19 pop 19 in BGS 95s, and I think it's a pop 1 in SGC 10. I couldn't look it up. I have that pop 1 SGC 10. Like I said, I have 4 of the 70 Kabooms that are in circulation, so I'm happy. Like, I like those cards. I think, it's so low pop and it's a beautiful looking card, so I'll hold them until whenever.
It could work out, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if it's low pop because no one wants it. I don't know. I'm just wondering. That's all.
She's dropping a hammer.
The perfect combo is, cards that are in high demand, but low pop.
Yeah,
that's the combo you want. Not like
it's
low
not
demand, low
it's
pop.
not an either or. Like, if I see like some high end Vladdy, like Topps Chrome Blue Auto, I'm gonna go for that first before the unlicensed stuff. But
a PSA 6, I'm sure that's a low pop count. But you know what? Before we move off this conversation, we know that Fanatics is taking over the Topps. They took over the Topps division, and they have the upcoming NBA and MLB licenses, right? So there's the expectation that if they buy Panini America, that's rumors been going around a while. So let's say they do buy Panini America, and then they could just keep the Prism brand, but they'll also have the licenses, right, for MLB. So imagine a sports card world where all of a sudden the Panini Prism baseball, Color Blast, those inserts that we're just talking about are licensed. Do you think the value of the current unlicensed product goes up or goes down?
Well, great question. Ooh.
I think you can't have like multiple versions with the same player, because I've seen like I think there's some like Shohei Kabooms, or I think it's like there's a second Shohei Kaboom or a second Tatis Kaboom, and it's just like it just devalues the overall thing. So right now I feel okay because there's just one Vladdy Kaboom, but I know if there's like a 2023 Kaboom Vladdy and a 2025 Vladdy Kaboom, it's just like gonna lower the value of everything. But maybe there's like, because of the small window of time where Fanatics or we didn't have a licensed product, maybe it's like, oh, those are so rare. I love that it's not besmirched by advertising and logos. It's so clean, nothing on the jersey. maybe that's the way it goes.
Sure.
The Vladdy Kaboom is rookie year Kaboom, though, right?
No, I don't think so. It's 2020, so
it's 2020.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
I think if there's a license.
Oh no, I lied. It's 2018. It's 2018. So it is his rookie year.
Okay.
I think if there's a licensed Color Blast or Panini, I think for me in that year, I think it's gonna be pretty hyped, and I think it's gonna be chased big time. And I don't know what that means for the existing Kabooms. I don't think it's going to make the existing ones necessarily go down, but I'm not sure if it may or may not spike. I don't know. Like, I really don't know what happened with the existing, but I do know that when the licensed Kabooms and licensed Color Blast for baseball comes out, I think it'll be pretty hyped. Like, I would want it, and I'm sure you guys would also want it. We see like a Shohei
I'll buy them all. Yeah.
Right away, right? So I think it'll be pretty big. The only saving grace, and the reason why I asked you if the Vladdy and like Bo Bichette are rookie Kabooms, I can't remember if they are or are not. I think that would be your saving grace. The fact that they're rookie Kabooms.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're really both 2018. So
I remember Bo's was
rookie
before
year is 2020. So,
right.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that for sure. If it's a rookie Kaboom and it's unlicensed, I think that definitely has value. Definitely, I'm with you on like the first year licensed Panini Baseball, Kaboom or Color Blast. That's going to be highly sought after. I would want that too. But over time, maybe there'll be a niche group where they'll see like, oh, before it was licensed, there was unlicensed product, and then maybe those low pop counts will come into play. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I guess Will will tell us what happens because he's holding for a while.
Yeah.
All right. Good discussion, guys. There's always a time and place for unlicensed cards, I say. And you know what? Like, we kind of joked about like collect what you love. But some of those unlicensed cards look really nice. I'm not going to lie. And for PC, why not, right? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of that's great PC stuff.
I like
too.
Color Wheel. Select Color Wheel.
Oh yeah,
really
that's
nice.
That's I think it's underrated.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I guess we'll see how things goes with that. All right, let's go on to the next segment, which is a new one. It's called Change My Mind. So for this new segment, I'm going to present to you, John and Will, 3 to 4 hobby hot takes and explain where I'm coming from. If you disagree or have a different opinion, I want you to change my mind, all right? And if not, you can tell me why you agree as well, okay? So let's start with hobby hot take number 1. Soccer cards won't see a bump in value when the World Cup takes place this November. And the reason why I say that is, looking at National Treasures, which came out recently, the highly anticipated boxes and cases of National Treasures Soccer with Mbappe's autos, hasn't sold out as quickly, or the breaks haven't been filled up quickly at the prices breakers wanted at. Demand for high-end soccer cards seems to be soft, just like every other card in the market right now. And I just think overall the continuing bear market will have an impact, right? It's not the bear market's not going to end in November when the World Cup starts. All those reasons, we've been saying, oh, World Cup when it comes, soccer cards are a play. I'm having my doubts. That's where my hobby hot takes comes into play.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I think I this is a great one. I haven't really thought about it, but I think I'm going to agree because when we look at general pricing trends and run up in prices like preseason, it's the months before where that you see that run up. And with this whole World Cup thing, like people have been saying this for 12 months and there really hasn't been a run up, right? And now we're here. It's coming. And if there's still no run up, I don't really see it taking off. I could see certain individuals taking off. Let's see if Messi or Ronaldo go off and they go to the finals and they win it all. I could see it. And he scores like 7 goals or something incredible. But other than maybe certain individual performances, I think I'm going to be with you in that if it hasn't run up already, we can't expect it. And here's another thing is that sellers are going to try to take advantage, obviously, of right when the World Cup comes out. So even if there is like a 10% interest, 20% bump in card prices, you are going to see every card under the sun just start flooding the market. And that's going to also make it soft. So I think it's going to, the amount of demand and versus the amount of supply that might come out is going to bring it back to even keel or even worse. I don't know. So I'm with you on there.
Good point.
Yeah. For me, I feel like it's almost like two sides of this coin where there's people who collect, like collectors and hobbyists, and then there's the investors. I feel like there's a chance that for the collectors, they see their favorite player playing and it gives them like this great feeling of like excitement, and maybe your national team wins and you want to collect that, the player from that team. And so I think there will be some run up in those cards. But like John was saying, in general, like I don't understand the appeal of soccer cards, so and I feel like
I didn't say that
kind of. Oh, sorry. I'm only here like sporadically, like once a quarter, so I'm allowed to throw in whatever hot takes I want.
I'm not bashing.
I mean,
It's all good.
I was gonna say soccer's garbage, like soccer cards are garbage, but like I won't say that. But I mean, I don't actually believe that because I really like Sunny's cards, like the Korean guy. But like, I think all the pricing for soccer cards, it's already baked in anticipation. And so if there is a rise, I think it's kind of like what we saw with Aaron Judge. It's like there's like this run up because he's getting into the playoffs and he's going to hit 62. And then we saw it almost immediately after. It's like this huge drop off. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like the hobby is just getting smarter about seasons and about not letting your emotions dictate purchases. So,
yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Probably won't see a big bump.
Yeah. I know the highly anticipated Panini Prism World Cup for this year. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people wanting that, but and I wouldn't mind buying it, but I'm not going to buy it the first day out. Like I'm going to wait because I think inevitably it'll come down, and then you start chasing the hits afterwards. But yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. All right, hobby hot take number 2. I guess that wasn't hot enough because you guys both agreed with me. Here we go. This is for our Canadian collectors. After I had the interview with Nazim a couple of weeks ago, I believe, and it just aired recently, a fellow Canadian card collector. And then I asked him, like, do you think hockey cards won't be the main sports cards to chase in Canada? He's like, no. He's like, hockey cards will be number 1 all the time in Canada. So my hobby hot take is related to that. It's hockey cards will only be truly relevant in Canada. And this is after, in previous episodes, we mentioned how ESPN took over the NHL broadcasting rights a couple of years ago. And we're optimistic at that time. I was optimistic at that time that they would really start highlighting hockey in the States where the market is much bigger. I haven't seen it move the needle that much, to be honest. In the last couple of years, I just feel like hockey's still the 4th, maybe even the 5th sport in the States still. Baseball and basketball is just too entrenched in the U.S. sports card industry as well. So I don't know. I think hockey cards won't ever break through beyond our Canadian border. What do you guys think?
Ooh. I should go first because John will save the podcast. Whatever hot takes I had about soccer, I think I'm 2x on it on hockey. Like I just don't understand the appeal. I mean, I grew up collecting hockey cards.
Right.
But when I look back on those hockey cards, I'm like, and then I look at hockey cards now, I'm like, oh wow, I have zero interest. And this is me growing up as a hockey fan. I obviously I don't watch hockey much anymore. I'm kind of a fair weather fan. Like I'll watch it if it's at the bar and it's the only thing going. But like a typical American is going to be way less interested in hockey than I am. And I'm literally like my eyes glaze over and my ears shut down every time I'm driving in the car and I listen to your podcast and you guys start talking about hockey. I'm just like trying to reach the fast forward button. Just joking. I don't actually do that. We listen to
So mostly when John's talking about hockey cards, he just fast forwards 15 seconds at the time. Okay.
I love John so much. I love talking with him, hanging out with him. But every time he talks about hockey, I'm like, wow, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Yeah.
Okay.
So I agree. It is not going to be relevant. Oh, and nor should it be because honestly, hockey fans deserve a better company making cards than who is it? Upper Deck.
Amen. Amen.
Like they're just not pretty. Like make prettier hockey cards.
Yeah, foil board, just chrome. Come on.
Yeah,
we've been asking that for a while,
right? Like,
I agree with you there. But I would just like to say for the record, we do get feedback on our podcast saying we need more hockey card content. So
then I wholeheartedly agree, and I apologize to all the wonderful fans that listen to this wonderful podcast.
Oh man, this one is tough. This one hurts because I love hockey cards. I mean, I don't have many hockey cards now, but like all of you guys, we grew up collecting hockey cards. I think the 89 Griffeys started all of us on baseball. And inevitably, because of how popular hockey is in Canada, you end up collecting hockey cards as a kid. Whether you're a big hockey fan or not, or played hockey. I was both a fan and I played hockey. So it was very relevant for myself. As we've been doing this podcast over the last, little while, we have been talking hockey and whether there's going to be a run up or not. And at times I did mention there may be a time, there is a time coming for hockey possibly. But the more I think about it, I'm not sure. And I think your hot take might be correct because in my time collecting hockey cards and in watching hockey as a Canadian hockey fan, the struggle for hockey to be more than the fourth best sport in North America has always been there. Like even when they got NBC and they got this and Wednesday Night Hockey and whatever they tried to do and they expanded all over and now they're in Vegas and blah, blah, blah. It just never pushes it enough to break one of the top three. And I don't know if it will, even with the hobby. Like I think I want it to really badly, but I'm not sure. And I don't know if hockey will be just stuck with sort of like the main characters, kind of like if you're a casual fan of, we talk about main characters, if you're going to collect Pokemon, you go for Charizard. If it's hockey, it's probably going to stick with like Ovi, Crosby, McDavid.
Right.
Maybe like a top 5 list. That's it, right? So I don't know. It makes it hard for me to think about whether hockey's going to be big or not. And I think your hot take is probably pretty accurate. As sad as it is for me. As sad as it is for me to admit that.
Yeah. I hope we're wrong on this. But,
Me too.
But yeah, I don't have a good feeling about it.
But I mean, like back in when was it that Fox got rights to hockey and they added the colored puck?
Right, I remember that.
Like, I feel like hockey was getting popular down in the States. Like I was watching a lot.
It is popular. There are it's big in Nashville, Minnesota.
Depends on the city.
Minnesota hockey is humongous. Like I think that is. I know before they've always talked about Michigan and Detroit, but man, for Minnesota it's monstrous. So I mean,
how about Seattle?
Yeah, but
Seattle,
maybe ESPN, maybe it actually does make a difference. Maybe it does make hockey more relevant because ESPN's huge, right? And everyone's starving for content. So
true, and they just took over the broadcast rights fairly recently, so they got time to improve the product overall. Right. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, to be fair, hockey has been keeping up. It's not like they haven't really lost the 4th spot, so they've been keeping up and been doing a good job. I just don't know if they're gonna go past that. I think it's gonna. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with Will's point though that it doesn't help that the hockey card product is just mediocre. You know what I mean? Like, you want collectors to want to chase something really nice,
right?
Other than like what's the rookie patch auto, the cup. Like that's just out of range for most people's budgets.
Oh, the cup
right?
is nice. I've seen some.
The cup is nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I take it back, hockey fans. I'm getting back into hockey, and at the November card show, I'm coming to your booth, and I'm gonna buy me a hockey card. I'm gonna get
Will's a baller. He's gonna get the cup RPA.
Definitely not that.
I would love to see that.
I'm gonna pick up a hockey slab. I'm gonna show it off. I'm gonna be proud of it.
You know what though? Okay. You know what's discouraging is, as the hobby was taking off and hockey was kind of becoming relevant and there was some hype behind hockey, the first product to really get onto people's minds was the Lafreniere year, right? The Young Guns. And that's when all sorts of other people outside of hockey was like, hey, I'm going to rip hockey. What happened? The crappy quality control of those paper products. You pull a Laffy with like 3 bent corners. And that's what you got as your first time ever ripping a hockey product, and you're like, I'm chasing Laffy, this is going to be great. And you hit the guy and you get this, literally, I don't know if you've watched breaks, but like 90% of the Young Gun Laffies were coming with like 3 bent corners, as if you like whipped the card at a wall. such poor quality. And like that's the first experience for a lot of people collecting hockey, right?
True.
So Upper Deck is not doing any favors for sure.
Come on, Upper Deck.
Yeah, pick it up.
All right. Okay, let's move on to hobby hot take number 3. All right, I'm going to increase the stakes here, actually. Ultra modern, one of one cards will see on average a 75% decline in value over the next couple of years.
Oh.
And the reason why I say this is, there's been stats saying like newer ultra modern cards, like let's say Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
He has like a ton of one-of-one cards out there.
Yeah, it's
rookie
like
cards.
in the multiples of thousands of one-of-one cards.
Yeah, it's crazy. Something like that.
Yeah.
So
What for Trevor Lawrence or for like?
Yeah, I think they said
all
like
this-
Cade Cunningham, Trevor Lawrence. There was like over 3,000 each. Yeah, like Panini Prism Black and Fast Break Black and then Optic Black and this and like just across all the products.
So yeah, all those cards we're seeing right now where the breakers are like, oh, one of one.
Yeah.
That's going to be 75% less in the next couple of
Yeah.
years. That's my hobby hot take.
Man, I'm like agreeing with all these. I don't even think they're not even hot takes. They're like
I got to try harder next time.
great
Jeez.
assessments.
So you agree? Okay.
I do agree. I think I agree. And we touched on this one of one thing. I think about a year ago when the LaMelo cards were coming out, and I remember because when I first got back into this early pandemic, you never really saw like the YouTube clips. Like a one of one break would be like a very rare find, and there weren't many of those YouTube. And I'll admit weren't as many YouTube clips then as there are now. There's however many streamers and whatnot, but when we saw the newer products coming out 2021 and so forth, literally every video seemingly has a one of one, which made you think like, man, this is getting a bit out of control. So I think it's probably going to continue to get a bit worse. I hope Fanatics, like everybody's kind of saying, does the hobby some justice and controls this a little bit. But I will say most of the ultra modern, I mean, obviously some of the staple products like Prism is going to uphold like monstrous value, but in overall one of one cards, like the appeal of the one of one, I could see it definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, I haven't done enough research into all the one-on-ones that exist, especially on basketball. It seems like basketball, and by what you're saying, football, it just has a lot of one-on-ones.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm primarily a baseball collector, so, how many Topps releases are there? Maybe like 20, 30 releases per year, 40 releases. So you'd assume one-of-ones, there's like 40 to, let's say, 100 on the high end. I feel like those aren't the cards that are going to lose so much value. It's, the out of 50s, out of 100s, out of 299. Like in baseball, it's like, pink magenta out of 399. It's like, that's suddenly no longer like, you have to have so many people who want that card. Like, and it comes in a 399, a 299, a 199, a 150. So it's like, can you find a couple thousand people who want that card? Maybe not, but can you find 100 people that want a one of one? Yeah, like it's kind of like crabs in a bucket, right? They're all just trying to climb over each other. And I think the one of ones prevail, but just by the skin of their teeth. I mean, it definitely loses its luster that there are so many one of ones, but I feel like they have to hold some value because they are the most scarce version of the card.
Right.
But it definitely doesn't feel good knowing that there's hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of a one of one.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. Like if you, let's just use LaMelo as an example, and you wanted to spend money on like a really nice long-term hold LaMelo, I don't know what the prices are, but let's say you have $2,000 budget and you're going for like a LaMelo Mosaic Genesis, which is an SSP card. And it's pretty well known. It's like a pretty, like a nice card, PSA 10, versus like a Flux Special Ops black one of one PSA 10 for the same price, like some random one of one
yeah.
that you don't even know what the heck it is. Like, like,
That's true.
and let's say they were the same price. Which one would you rather get? Like, for me, I'm going after the Genesis, right?
Genesis for sure.
Yeah.
Genesis too.
Yeah. So I guess the crazy thing is, you like, let's say with the LaMelo Ball, like Prism is king. How many variations of Prism are there? How many color parallels? You have to find like there's probably like, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 different variations and whatnot. So then you have to find,
like total, you mean?
yeah, okay, one of ones are going down. Yeah, I changed.
Because you gotta stick to your guns, man.
No, you have to have enough investors who are gonna buy up all of the, the out of 50, out of 100, out of 199, blah blah blah, all the color parallels of Prism, which is flagship, and then get through like Optic, and then get through Mosaic, and then a one of one. What would you call it? Flux.
I don't even remember.
Flux negative.
Just made it up.
Black. Yeah. Like, so I changed my mind. John convinced me.
But you know what? I think it depends on the player, right? If the player is hot, like rookie of the year, like any of his one-on-ones is going to sell for a good amount, right? So I can see one-on-ones still retaining their value, but it really depends on the player.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, last one. I kind of wanted to be a little bit more positive to end this segment. But, we all believe and hope that the market's going to get through this bear market. And then when things start to pick up, when the economy starts to pick up, so will the card market. But my hobby hot take is that the majority of the rebound that we will see in card values will be in those grail cards that have dipped to all-time lows versus all of the modern and ultra-modern cards that we see now and we will see in the future. That I believe those ultra modern cards, even the bigger hits, there will be a somewhat of a cap in terms of how high those values can be, even when the sports card market is booming. I think most of it will be in current grail cards. Just collectors will I feel like the hobby will be as a whole smarter, and we'll just go after, won't chase like whatever's the new shiny thing. There'll be some, of course, but I think people would rather have a Steph Curry Topps Chrome that's 8,000 now or whatever it is, and I think that could go up to 50,000 when the sports card hobby starts to boom again. Hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, I don't know if you get that, but yeah, the hobby hot take will be most of the card values will rebound in those kind of cards rather than all of the ultra modern and modern cards that we see now.
Right. Well, you know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna agree.
Okay.
I talked about my concern about ultra modern cards and where it's headed, and this whole junk slab era. I think if Panini and Topps continue to be greedy and just print the heck out of everything, I'm a little bit worried. I think modern, not ultra modern, but Luka's year, Jason Tatum's year, and going backwards. I'm just talking about basketball as an example. I think it has a good chance, but anything like uber ultra modern, a little bit concerned. So because of that, I think the grail cards, I think it's tough to say. Like, I think grail cards, I kind of lump them in with vintage, and vintage sort of had its moment this year. I think some people might be disappointed a little bit. I think vintage will now see that slow progression like it always was projected to be, right? Like you won't lose out in money, but it won't really climb quickly. Like,
Sure.
I think it's going to come back to that kind of pricing trends. So tough to say, but I think because of how worried I am about ultramodern, I will agree about the grail cards in general. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here's where I get to disagree. I feel like ultra modern cards and like new players are like a shiny new toy or a shiny new car. It's like you get so distracted by the next model, by the next, iPhone 14, iPhone 15 Plus, iPhone 16. Like we get we get so used to just getting what's new. Like obviously a Curry, like in baseball, like you could get like all these like new players. No, let's talk about basketball. Next year, Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna make like
Huge.
all-time sales.
That's right.
And he is
right.
he is the ultra modern card. He is gonna outsell.
True.
He's gonna outsell so many legends and goats.
Good point.
And I think that happens every couple years in every sport. So yeah, I'm sure Grail cards will rebound well because they have to, right? Like at some point I want to be able to have a Curry rookie card. Like that would be so sweet. And I know everyone else is thinking the same thing as me, but there's always going to be somebody who's chasing the next GOAT, Wembanyama. And then he's going to end up like he's going to end up like Porzingis or Bol Bol.
Oh God.
And then everyone's gonna laugh and be like, "Oh my God, look at all this!"
Yeah.
Like all the memes about Bol Bol, but they're just gonna be the same memes about Wembanyama and the same memes about like Bronny James when he makes the league and all this stuff. It always happens.
It's true. Yeah.
So I feel
That's a good
like
point.
I feel like you're gonna see a huge rebound in those specific players, like the ones that everyone's chasing and. We're all going to be disappointed in.
I like it. Great point.
It's a good point because even if the hobby comes back to 50% of the 2020 peak, yeah, like it can get crazy with those hype players for sure. I can see that.
I'm going to be chasing Wembanyama.
Oh, I'm all in. I'm all in on Victor.
That's right. It's a great point.
Okay, I'm disagreeing with my hobby hot take. Victor. I totally forgot about Victor Wembanyama, so I'm all in. Take my money. All right. All right. This was a kind of a fun segment. We'll try to bring it back in a future episode, maybe with Hyung back in a couple of weeks. All right. Let's wrap up this show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And if you're a first-time listener to the podcast, this is when all three of us, we come up with 2 cards or 2 sets or 2 players, and then we debate which one we would rather invest in. We usually throw it to Hyung to lead off, but I'll throw it to John, if you don't mind, to start this segment off.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to give hockey some love again as the hockey guy, and we're going to revisit a 1v1 we had previously.
Okay.
It's going to be Trevor Zegras versus Cole Caulfield. And if you need a dollar amount or something to kind of munch on, Zegras' Young Guns PSA 10, I think right now goes for around 300 US, and the Caulfield PSA 10 goes for around 400 US Young Guns.
Okay. I'll go first because I think Will just tuned out because we're talking about hockey cards. But no. I thought about this, and I like this because I think when you brought it the first time, this 1v1 the first time in an earlier episode, I chose Zegras. Like I was just impressed with his puck handling skills.
Right. This was at the height of the Zegras hype.
Yeah, I was all aboard on Zegras. But we were talking about one of the hobby hot takes about hockey cards only being relevant in Canada. With that point of view, since Caulfield plays for the Canadians, for big Canadian market, obviously Montreal's huge into hockey as well. And if I really want to make a flip or a profit as a investor, I'm going with Cole Caulfield all the way. And maybe I'm biased too because I saw the home opener against the Leafs, and the guy can skate. He can play hockey. Yep. So I was pretty impressed with his skills right off the bat. And again, like I said, I'm going to buy his card to sell to many more Montreal card collector fans than Anaheim collectors down south for even a guy like Zegras. Yep. So I pick Caulfield.
That's a good point.
Okay. So I have to admit my hockey knowledge is lacking. The last time I truly loved hockey was when Jeremy Roenick was on a breakaway. I think it was in overtime. And he scored like top shelf against the Leafs, eliminating them from the playoffs. John, do you remember what year that would have been? I was a lot younger.
That was the Wendell Clark, Doug Gilmour era must have been.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. And I think the strike was like the year after. So
yeah, because the Sundin era,
something
we were
like
always playing like Philly or Ottawa Senators.
I feel like it was against Philly. I think Roenick was on.
Was Roenick on Philly? I'm thinking about
yeah.
Chicago Blackhawks Roenick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was like about the last time I really loved hockey, and then my heart was broken too many times. So I had to look up both cards because I didn't know where Cole Caulfield played. My immediate reaction was the same as Clark's. Like, I was like, oh, he's a Montreal Canadian. He would be more valuable. And then I thought, oh, but he's a Montreal Canadian, and I hate the Canadians. Like, it's just
You've been programmed
as a Toronto
to
boy. Yeah, it's in my programming, even though I haven't watched hockey in a while. And when you sent me the pick one, I'm like, oh, I know Zegras. I actually know him because he's the one who does all the nifty, all the fancy tricks where he's scoring from behind the net, right? Like lacrosse style goals, right?
Yeah.
I'm not making that up, right?
No.
No,
Correct.
Exactly. See, guys, see everyone. I love hockey. So I'm going Zegras because I know who he is, and I think he's in Anaheim, and I love the Mighty Ducks. So shout out Paul Correa. Oh yeah, the movie too. I mean, the movie's amazing. But yeah, so I'm going Zegras, not because of any actual like good reasons, but that's who I'm going with.
All good. Johnny will be the tiebreaker.
Yeah. I'm sticking with my original pick in Cole Caulfield. I like your point about Montreal Canadiens. I'm going to continue to make the point about goal scoring. So I think they're actually tied. No, Caulfield's got 7 goals. Zegras has 6. But Caulfield for me is a legitimate, like, he could win the goal scoring title in one of these years. He's got that kind of talent. And similar, like I mentioned, similar to the home run race, I think if you can predict the next home run king or goal scoring king, but also kind of has to be a mixture of like young with a bit of hype, right? Like you don't want to be picking Kyle Schwarber. Like no offense to Kyle Schwarber, but that's not going to happen. I think at the least you got to be going like Pete Alonso or something like that. And I think you could really do some good stuff with your investments. So I think Cole Caulfield for me is one of those guys. His price is still sort of on that early hype stage a bit. So maybe you could wait a bit on actually both of these guys. But I think going forward, hockey in general, for those maybe that don't collect or do collect, I think if you start going after guys that could win the goal scoring title or flirt with it, I think that's the move. So I'm going to pick Caulfield again.
All right. Nice. Good one. All right. Will, do you want to go next?
Sure. This is the least amount of baseball I've talked in a long time, so I'm happy. I'm happy to stretch beyond my comfort zones. For my pick one, I didn't want to go baseball versus baseball, so I decided to go baseball versus basketball. And my initial thought was low numbered parallels, like colors. So initially I wanted to do something like Topps or Bowman red, which is out of 5, versus Panini like Prism gold, which is out of 10. But it's hard to find really good comps because basketball pricing is just outrageous. Right. But I did see one of my favorite cards got sold recently in a PWCC Premier auction, and that's the 2018 Bowman Chrome Shohei Auto, like red out of 5.
Whoa.
I think it's special because I might be wrong, but was that his first auto?
Yeah.
Is that why that one's so special? Like there's something significant about that card.
Yeah,
we need Hyung. Hyung will put it in the comments.
But it's the more desired Bowman Chrome.
Yeah,
that's his pitching one. Where
the pitching one.
It's the one where he's throwing.
Over.
Yeah, it looks like he's falling over.
One.
Yeah. So that just sold on October 21st for $276,000 US, and that's his highest selling card of all time, from what I can see from Card Ladder's data.
Yeah.
Versus the 2018 Prism Gold out of 10 Luca BGS 9, and that one just sold for $450,000 in a private sale on October 14th, according to Card Ladder. That would make that card the 12th highest sale of Luka all time, and something like the 8th most valuable Luka card, because a couple of those cards had been sold like multiple times. So
Yeah.
which one do you like more? Pick one.
Oh,
Man, look at Will.
we
trying
also have endless amounts of money, obviously.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say Will's trying to impress us with this 1v1 coming onto the show. With this baller
I'll go
1v1.
first. I will say right off the bat, for 275,000, I'm picking the Otani over the J-Rod red. It's so funny how that works out.
Oh, how much did the J-Rod red go for?
I think it was around the same, right?
Oh,
That's why
ridiculous.
I know.
Oh,
that's
but
crazy.
J-Rod is nice.
Yeah,
Yes, I
But
love
he's not
J-Rod too.
Shohei.
I know.
But he could be.
And those are two monster cards, and I think some of the points that we may make about Luka card, I think Luka maybe reaching a wider audience, the Luka card being a lot more iconic than the Shohei card, play into factor here, and certainly did in the pricing, right? You said the Luka was like $450 or whatever, so it's definitely like a way bigger premium. But if money wasn't an issue, and if we're talking investments from this point forward of that price point, I'm gonna go with Luka. I like both, and I think both are generational. I just think basketball reaches so many more people, especially in the high end space. I think baseball, actually, I don't know. I think baseball high end is really big, obviously, in the vintage space, where it's kind of becomes like art, and there's some like crazy iconic cards. But I think in terms of modern collecting and excitement and all of that stuff, basketball is where it's at, and Luka is at the forefront of taking the mantle from LeBron James as like the player in the NBA. So I think it's got to be Luka. Like, you're looking at the gold version of his iconic card. I mean, like, that is a grail list on almost any collector out there. So it's going to be the Luka for me.
Okay. I just want to know, John, like, every opportunity he gets to throw shade at LeBron, he does.
I didn't
Did
even
you say taking the mantle or like
It's subconscious
stealing
now.
it?
He didn't even
Yeah,
know.
I
It's just subconscious.
Wait, was it shade though? I was just.
Did you say LeBron doesn't deserve the mantle? I think that's what I heard.
That's how I interpreted it. Yeah, for sure.
But I'm saying LeBron is the man right now, handing down the mantle, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm kidding. Okay. This is a hard one because I do agree with Johnny's points, and I love Luka. That gold prism is a beauty. It's iconic. But I think the better value as an investor is still in Shohei. And not just because it's cheaper, which it is by almost a couple $100,000. But the Shohei is, it has a lot going for it. It's numbered to 5. And I think there's a huge difference between number to 5 to number to 10, even in that small difference. The red, it's a color match with his cap. I like that about the Shohei card. Mm-hmm. The on-card auto, it's graded PSA versus BGS. Like, all these things just kind of add up. And I think if Shohei has another great year next year, I think Shohei's still undervalued in what he's doing for the game of baseball. Like, we've never seen a talent like Shohei since Babe Ruth, right? And I think he's still being underappreciated. And I think if he does it again 3 years in a row, I think more people will come on board, and high-end investors even will say like, whoa, this card's numbered to 5. It's under 300K, and you compare it to other high-end cards. I think that has potential to grow significantly more even in the next year or two. Whereas Luka, I agree he's dominant. I was kind of joking with about him being better than LeBron, but he will be the face of basketball for years to come. I have no doubt about that. But I think it'll take time for his cards to appreciate it, because I think the 450 is still a bit high in my opinion. Right? Like, I think that's
what was
that's
it? Was
value.
it a BGS? What was it? The grade, by
BGS
the way?
9.
BGS
Yeah.
9.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit inflated with the hobby hype. But, not to say that it's going to go crashing down. But in terms of better investment, I'm going with Shohei, number to 5.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's hear it.
Yeah, so for me, like, Luka's he's already made the Western Conference Finals, right? But I'm always a little hesitant about like how many great players there are in the NBA. I feel like Luka is like amazing. Like his skill set is so different than anyone else. But then there's other players who are so different than anyone else. Like Curry's shooting, Jokic's passing, Giannis's just freakishness. Like, and these guys are in their primes, getting into their primes, and then you have these younger players like who are just showing up, like Ja Morant and Victor Wembanyama, and like I feel like it's really crowded in the NBA to be at the top. Versus Shohei, I feel like he stands heads and shoulders above most of his peers. Right. And so that's why I feel like Shohei is the better investment. If he has a third year, because like, I mean, what are we expecting? Is he going to win his second MVP? Or is he going to lose it to Judge? Yeah, you think Judge has it? At 62, you can't.
But it shows, right? Like even like a normal year out of Shohei, it takes a pretty spectacular season from somebody to take that mantle.
Yeah. It's funny how last year I was like, no way, Vlad's the MVP. But then this year I'm like, is Judge the MVP? It's like hometown bias.
62 is like, it's not the real record, 62.
I mean, he's like 9 feet tall. Is it that hard to hit home runs?
He could swing with one hand and hit over the fence.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's that impressive.
Like they should make fences 500 feet for him, and then we'll see. But yeah, so I just feel like, I don't know, Shohei, like if he does it for a third year, oh my god, like he's, oh my goodness, because he's two players. He's two players in one. Like it's just
he's a unicorn. Yeah. I mean, they're both generational. So truth be told, the Shohei card should be just as valuable, if not above, if we're talking real, how great they are versus their peers. But yeah, great points, man.
But the last thing that got me was what Clark said. It's the fact that it's color match. Like I'm all about the look of the card. I love me a color match.
Obviously, with all your unlicensed product that you collect, you're about the look of the card for sure. All right, I like that one. That was a really good one. Okay, we'll end off with my pick one. On one side, we got Lionel Messi's 2004 Panini Sports Mega Cracks rookie card, Raw, which last sold for $2,650, $2,650 US. And on the other side, Lionel Messi's 2014 Prism Silver, the World Cup. Speaking of World Cup coming up, his PSA 10, which sold for $5,760. All right, so I also wanted to kind of give you the PSA 7, if you think of grading it and it gets a PSA 7, because those cards are notoriously hard to get good grades for. PSA 7 itself is worth $4K. PSA 8, it goes up to $7.2K. So what are you doing? The rookie card Raw, one of his more popular rookie card, the Mega Cracks, at $2,650, or the PSA 10 of the World Cup Silver Prism 2014 at just under $6K.
Wow. I don't think any three of us are qualified to be talking about any of this stuff. The Mega, and maybe this is not even a question for you guys, but the Mega Cracks, we all know it from seeing YouTube videos and whatever. But this, I'm assuming it's expensive because this is probably the earliest appearance of Messi onto a card, right? This is like considered quote unquote his rookie. Aesthetically, I don't like the card at all. It's paper. It looks boring. It looks like everything I don't want in like a premium collection. The Prism Silver at the World Cup, beautiful, nice shine. I'm actually surprised it's worth $5,000. I thought it'd be a lot cheaper than that from when the prices have come down. But for soccer and some of the content I watch on people trading soccer cards and talking about soccer cards, Like that Mega Cracks card is on that list. Like people talk about that card all the time. So for me, as much as aesthetically, just unbiased point of view, looking at it objectively, it's the Prism Silver, no question. But from investment and collecting and I don't know, flexing or whatever you want to do with your collection, I think it's got to be the Mega Cracks. Like if everybody's always talking about it, and I always hear about that card, even to liquidate it or trade it if you need to, I think it's gonna pull its weight. So if Lionel Messi goes up in value because of this World Cup, and towards the end of his career, it's going to be the Mega Cracks card that goes first and foremost. So it's that for me.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, for me, I usually just go by the look of a card, and for me, the Prism card is much prettier. It's the 2014 World Cup one, right?
Yep.
Where he's wearing the Argentina jersey and whatnot.
That's right.
Yeah. I think that's just a prettier card. And then the 2004 is the one where it's like he's kind of fading halfway, like his body looks like a ghost. Is that the right one, or am I looking at it? You gotta look at it.
I think he's like kind of deking, right? He's in his Barcelona jersey, if I'm not mistaken.
That one.
Yeah. And he's just like fading. No? Is that
fading?
The wrong one? Yeah, he looks like his lower half of his body is fading. I'm looking at one right now.
Oh, is it? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Number 71.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, you're looking at the wrong one.
Okay.
Maybe you meant to say fainting, which is I think what how soccer players talk about deking, fainting.
No, it's definitely not that. Thanks for trying to save it. I was looking at number 89. That's why. And in that one, his half of his body looks like it's disappearing. But yeah. Well, now I have to look that one up. So, Clark, why don't you share your opinion?
Sure.
While I find that card.
Sure, no problem. I'm going to go for the rookie card because I'm all about the flex. So I think that's and the Mega Cracks is
Clark, the ultimate showman.
I can't deny it. So the Mega Cracks, especially for soccer card collectors, like that's the rookie card, quote unquote, that you want. Right. And I throw this out because it's raw. So like I want to see what your appetite is to
I didn't really consider that too. That's a good point. Like you have like a bent corner versus like a PSA 10, right? Yeah.
So I mean, I'm guessing the raw, like, and that's a whole other episode. Like, who puts up raw cards? You got to be careful to see if they already tried to grade it and they broke it. Like, you never know. So it's got to be in somewhat decent condition just by the photos. That's what I'm gonna assume. And like if I'm, PSA 7, even if it came back a PSA 7, let's say that was the worst case scenario, and it was 4K versus the 6K for the PSA 10 World Cup. I just think it's just there'll be more demand in general over time for his Mega Cracks, even at the lower grade. It's one of those cards where grading doesn't matter as much than more modern and ultra modern cards like we've talked about in previous episodes. So I'll take that risk. If I get a PSA 7, so be it. PSA 8 is just a bonus. That'll be up to 7K. But yeah, that's why I threw that out there, and that's why I'm sticking with Mega Cracks.
Do you guys know do you guys know the general print run, the PSA PSA run of pop counts for all of them, like all of them, PSA 7, 8s onwards. Like how many of these Mega Cracks are out there?
It's a good question. I can add it up, but I don't know. I feel like it's still in the hundreds because PSA 7s there's 80. PSA 8 there's 88.
Oh, okay.
These are, wow. PSA 9 there's 45, and then obviously PSA 10 there's. So
this
19.
was a really low printed set, like a niche set.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Even BGS is 72. So you add these up, it's maybe over 1,000, just over. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like not a huge amount.
Okay, I did my research.
Okay, let's hear it.
So it's pretty much the same image, just the lower half is faded for the autograph.
I gotta look at this faded.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the close up with the auto. Oh,
So
right,
I mean, the overall
I
look
see
of the
it, the number
card,
89.
yeah, the overall look of the card is not as pretty as the Prism one,
Of
but
course.
what Clark's saying is how I feel about it as well. Like, I'm pretty big into collecting DeRozan cards, and I love his Bowman set and his tops, like, and I just think like there's a lot of raw DeRozan stuff that's out there, and I'm just like, there is something wrong with this card for you to not have graded it by this time. Like, you
Right.
should have graded it if it was worthy of being graded. But it's still like, it's his iconic rookie card, and so I'll always feel better about chasing those DeRozan rookies rather than like the first year Prism DeRozan, like, or like his last year in a Raptors jersey or something like that. So
Yeah.
and like 2014 wasn't even his first World Cup or anything like that,
Yeah.
right? So
That's
right.
the first Prism World Cup.
yeah.
Set,
Oh, is that what? That's why it's significant.
Yeah, so that's probably like a small significance, but
Yeah. So I like, because I'm not I don't really like Panini. I don't really put much value in first year Prism stuff. I remember you guys were talking about that on a podcast a few weeks ago, and I was just yelling in my car like, nobody cares about first year Prism.
Hey, people care about 2012 basketball, right?
They do. I'm always the vocal minority.
Nice. I love it. I just want to mention just quickly for raw cards, just look at the number of ratings that the eBay user has. This is what I do personally. I don't know if you guys do it, but if it's a lower number of ratings and it's like, they only got 100 ratings and they put a raw card out there, and then you look at the rest of the cards he's selling or she's selling and they're all raw, then I'm more comfortable at buying raw cards from that seller.
yes, absolutely.
But if it's like top seller,
right.
and they have other graded cards selling, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
All right. So for the new card collectors, there's a helpful tip for you on when to buy raw cards and from who. All right. That's a long show. Thanks, Will, for stopping by, filling in for Hyung. Appreciate it. We do have you for one more week, so hope our listeners enjoyed having you on the show as well, because you'll be back next week. But thanks, Will, for stopping by this week.
Thank you. It's been a blast.
And all our listeners and subscribers, obviously, we're thankful for you guys. We'll be back for a new show next Tuesday as well. So we'll talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.